Just know that there is no one size fits all. There is no right formula for this. You should have zero mom guilt. You're gonna have it. You need to do what works best for you and your family.
Welcome back to Duo On Air. I'm Abby.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're the ex-agency turned entrepreneurial team that puts the Duo in Duo Collective. Our boutique organic marketing agency specializes in SEO, social media strategy, and branding.
We're an everyday pair of business besties / marketing experts obsessed with helping our community learn more about what it takes to run a business.
Which is why on Duo On Air, we're not holding anything back. We're giving you all the info we know about how to grow your business organically so you can be the confident CEO you were made to be.
And how to navigate life as a small business owner.
Whether it's on your own or with your best friend by your side, so grab your coffee
or your mimosa, we don't judge,
and settle in for a quick value-packed episode of Marketing Tips.
Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 158, and today we're talking about the beautiful and messy reality of motherhood and running a small business as we sip our warm cups of coffee because we don't have children around us right now, so it's still nice and warm.
So I'd say there's a lot of people that ask us to record episodes about this because I think there's a lot of people in our world that one are moms in all different phases of the journey, and two, a lot of people that we talk to who are soon to be moms, whether they're pregnant or planning or they know it's in the future and they can't imagine a life with both yet.
Yes. And we, for the longest time, didn't talk much about motherhood because if you followed along with any of our past episodes or just our journey together, my journey to motherhood was a really bumpy one, and it was a hard thing to talk about, and it was a hard thing to navigate as a business duo, because Abby was in such a different life phase than I was. We were trying to have a kid. We weren't successful for a while, and then finally we were, and now I'm in the thick of it too. And we're still at very different phases of motherhood. We have different aged children, and she's got 2, I've got 1. Her kids go to school, mine goes to daycare, but we're still in a little bit different phase. But at least now we can both share that same thing, right? Mm-hmm. We can share the beautifulness of like being a mom and running a business. And now I understand because there were things that I didn't understand because I wasn't a mom yet. And, I was going through a grieving process and Abby was trying to support me. So it was really messy for a while. And it was almost like this thing in our business that we couldn't talk about because it was a very sad thing for me to talk about.
It was really hard to navigate for both of us because it was like, obviously I'm in a phase of life at the time where it was all babies, and it was like, I did want to talk about my babies and I did want to talk about navigating both, but I knew when I talked about that, I also broke your heart at the same time. And you were more important to me than all of our followers on Instagram, no offense, but at the same time, it's trying to navigate the realness of life when you have something really, really heavy happening at the same time.
And I felt awful too because she knew that I was sad when anything got brought up about motherhood, but I didn't want to take that away from her either. And I think I even told you a couple times, like, you can talk about it, but like maybe it's a solo episode or I don't need to be involved in it because I didn't even know at the time what I could contribute. I couldn't really contribute anything. And there were times too when we were on other people's podcasts and they didn't necessarily maybe do their research and they would like ask us questions. They'd be like, okay, so are you both moms? And like, tell us about that. And I would just sit there and I was like,
there was a time, I would say too, if you are a podcast host or just like being sensitive about those questions, because I very vividly remember having to like take over because I knew Courtney like blacked out. Yeah. Like it was asking, whoever we were talking to, they were asking about, like if we were moms and all of this stuff. And I remember, Courtney just like total blank stare, like couldn't focus anymore. And I just had to like take it over and just talk until she came back to it. But it was like, which thankfully we're in a business partnership. And so like we can, and we have each other's backs.
Save each other.
Yeah, in those situations. But like, I can't imagine having to navigate that, like, you know, without having, and
rest
the
of that
whole
episode, I'm just like,
it's gonna throw you.
Not thinking clearly. And I think we even got off of that, and I looked at Abby and I was kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, that really threw me off.
Yeah.
And it's just, so this is just us starting, like, every road is different. Every journey is different. It's messy. It's hard. It's beautiful. But if you are a guest, if you have people on your podcast and they're guests, just please do a little bit of research to know.
Just don't ask.
Or don't ask those questions.
Bring it up to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or ask before you turn the mic on. Or something.
Absolutely.
Email. Anything. Just like preparation.
Yeah.
But our journey hasn't our journey has and is still messy, and like we choose to share typically from a place of like joy and happiness, but we're also not afraid to share the realness of what's happening too. But we've talked about this before of like, we like to share from a place of healing, not wounds.
Yes.
So we try to be very conscious about like, if we are in the thick of it and still struggling with something, regardless of whatever it is.
Usually at that moment.
Yeah, we don't share it when we're really struggling.
Yeah.
And I encourage other people to do that too, because I think there's a lot of emotions that come into play. And so I think sharing something when you're at a stage of healing and being able to talk about the journey and what comes from it can be more motivational for others, because that's why we're here. Like, we want you to feel so encouraged in owning your own business and being a mom, and just, I mean, chances are if you're listening to this episode, that's what you want. And we want to be there to encourage you regardless of how you want to do it, because Court and I have done both of our journeys, like not even just to get to having children, but just our journey of like after kids and working with kids and like how we've built our schedules. Like, we've done things very differently.
Yes. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely okay. There is no wrong thing to do, and we have found what works best for each of us, and it's been great, and it's fun to see like what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, it is fun. And it's fun to watch each other like grow as business partners, but also as moms, because at the end of the day, we're moms first, and then business partners, well, friends second, business partners third. That's how we would rate it. But it's really fun to see how we like grow and evolve.
I missed the first one, and you're like friends second, and I was like, wait, what?
The first one's moms.
Moms. Okay, fine.
Yeah. It barely beats friends, but it beats it. But so we're really like, with all that backstory, we're very excited to start talking about this more, because we're in a place of, like Abby said, healing. And we can talk about our past. We can talk about the hardships that we went through, and we can continue to talk about what it's like to run a business and be a mom at the same time, because now we're both there. And that's probably just why you didn't hear much about it years ago, because we weren't both there, and it was just a little bit of a struggle. But now we're both here, and it's still a struggle some days, and some days it's, you know, messy and beautiful and easy, and other days it's freaking hard.
Yeah. So how about, I feel like we should start with the season of life we're in right now.
Yeah, sure.
So
I'll go.
Yeah, go.
I have a little toddler girl. Her name is Mila. She is going to be 2 in May. She is a very independent, strong, slightly sassy toddler, and I feel like that's just the definition of a toddler. I guess if you Googled toddler, that's probably what you'd get. But she goes to daycare Monday through Friday. She goes to a Spanish immersion, so that little Spanish-speaking girl, she always says agua. I mean, she's teaching me more Spanish than I've ever known. Good for her. And yeah, she goes to daycare usually from 8 in the morning to about 4:30. So she's in daycare full time. My husband and I are both entrepreneurs, running our own businesses. So we really just need that dedicated time to work, because when she's with us, she is a constant go, go, go. Abby had her this last weekend, and I'm like, that girl don't sit. If she's not sleeping, she's not sitting. So it's just really, really hard with her at the phase she is in right now to get any sort of work done when she's home. And Abby and I try to respect like family time and working time. But we all know, as busy moms and entrepreneurs, there's going to be some nights where we're working and our kid is playing next to us or something. But my toddler is still at that dangerous phase where, like, if I don't have an eye on her constantly, she might be jumping off the counter or something. So again, it's really hard for me to work if she's not A, sleeping, or B, at daycare. So I really try to prioritize those hours when she's not home to get stuff done.
Yeah, and I have a just turned 6-year-old. He's a New Year's Eve baby, and a 4.5-year-old. So they are almost exactly 18 months apart. So they're best friends, worst enemies, and all at the same time within a matter of minutes with each other. Both boys, so they are wild, like absolutely wild. But it is very fun, and yeah, they wrestle, they're aggressive. Like, I did not know this started at 4, so but yeah, they're all over the place. So my oldest is in kindergarten, and then youngest, 18 months under him, is in pre-K right now. So up until this year, which I've talked about this, we have another episode on like how I worked with very limited childcare because I did not pay full time for daycare. And a lot of that was just due from budget standpoint. Like, when I quit my job, it was like, nope, like, I'm quitting my job because we're going to take a cut in that. So I had 3 to 4 hours certain days. Not every day.
Her schedule was so wild, it was hard for me.
It was wild.
To remember it.
It was wild.
And I worked with Abby daily, but I still could not retain what her schedule was because it was pretty wild.
And my kids, it worked really well because my kids would go in the morning usually to whatever form of childcare we had at the time. And then they'd nap in the afternoon. So I essentially had a day. It was just broken up. And then obviously it got to a point where naps were phased out, and we're completely out of that stage now. So there is no napping. But this is the first year where, because I have a kindergartner and because they do almost everything together, we put them both in full time. So pre-K costs like double the amount of kindergarten because they go to a private school. So that's lovely. So next year will be nice. But yeah, this is the first year where they go to school 8 to 3. And it is crazy. It's crazy wild. I have told Courtney this. It's been weird because I truly, like, it's really easy to romanticize the working with your kid, like, and the joy of it. And like, I do think back to the days where Remy was our little intern and he sat on my lap for all of our calls, and I worked with him, and him playing in his room and me working, and like, I can romanticize it, but it was also freaking hard.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'm going to add to this. There is no right or wrong way to do this because I do feel like I had a little bit of, after my mat leave, a little like, well, I should try to do what Abby did and keep me in the home until she's 18 months. And like, that would make me a better mom, is if she was home and I was working and I was figuring it out. But that's not true. That actually would have probably broke me. I don't think I could have done it. Like I said, I mean, she's a busy baby, but she also is a shit napper. Like, this girl doesn't nap.
My kids have always been very good nappers.
And
I would have died.
And she does not nap. She sleeps throughout the night, praise Jesus, but she does not nap. So I literally would have not gotten anything done. And her kids napped. They did so well with that. So just know that there is no one size fits all. There is no right formula for this. You should have zero mom guilt. You're gonna have it. But like, you need to do what works best for you and your family. And it's gonna be beautiful some days, and it's gonna be a shit mess some days too. But you have to do what works best for you and your sanity, because again, there's no right way.
Yeah. My schedule changed all the time. I think what worked best for me was truly the day, like, it got to a point where I couldn't do both. Like, it used to be they could independent play and I could work. It got to a point where, like, that couldn't happen anymore, especially if I had both of them. And so I think Tuesday, Fridays or something, I like completely took those days off of Duo, like is what I said. Did I don't know. But I said I took those days off.
No, you didn't.
Those were yeah, right. I would probably work again during nap or, late at night. But we'd go to the zoo or we'd do something. And so like, that was helpful because I think the biggest challenge that I've experienced up until this, and obviously there's so much more to experience because they're only 6, like one of them's only 6, but is the tug between being a good mom and being a good business owner, and the struggle to want to do both really, really well, but when you do one really well, you're failing at the other.
It's hard.
It's really hard. Mm-hmm. It is really hard to find that balance, and I don't think that balance exists. I just have found that when I have truly dedicated my time, like I can't be half in. I can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Mm-hmm. I need to be all in, I'm working right now, or I need to be all in, I'm momming right now. Mm-hmm. And when I try to do both is when I feel like I'm failing at one or the other, like mm-hmm. whatever one it is. So that's what I've learned so far. And I still fail at that always, but I try to like honor that as much as I can. If I'm on pickup duty and I'm picking my kids up at 3:00, I'm present. Like I'm sitting down, I'm eating a snack with them, I'm talking about their mm-hmm. day. My laptop is closed. I'm not in my office. Like I am present with them. And that has helped me really like compartmentalize the two roles.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I've noticed too, it is hard. It's really hard. I've noticed too that sometimes I need to actually physically put my phone or my laptop in the other room when Mila is home, because otherwise I'm tempted to check that email or send that one email or just do that really quick edit and like, oh, she's independent playing. I can do this thing for like 15 minutes and get it done. But that's not helpful either, because I also don't want her growing up and being like, well, mom was always working at the kitchen counter or anything like that. So sometimes it's actually physically removing your job from your visual sight when they are home, so you don't have that urge or temptation to just go do that one thing real quick. But it's hard. Yeah. It's really hard. Being a mom and a small business owner, you can't shut it off. Sometimes it's really, really hard to shut it off because you can constantly be thinking about that next thing for your business or that next thing for your family. And shutting it off is so much harder when it's your own business versus if you were in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm not saying I didn't shut it off in the corporate world some days too, but it was much easier to walk out of an office, shut my computer down, go home.
You don't care at a level that you care for your own business. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and we've entered a world too where now my husband is a small business owner. So all 4 of us, like Courtney's husband, my husband, we're all small business owners, and we all help each other. So like if I'm not working on my business, I might be helping him with something on his. And it's bizarre. Like it is something where I feel incredibly proud of the fact that like our kids are going to grow up and like see that, right? Mm-hmm. Like see mm-hmm. that ambition and see that drive. But at the same time, some days it's so hard that I truly want to be like, I quit. Like, not duo. Like, I don't want to quit duo, but I just want to like, I want to quit everything for just a hot second. Mm-hmm. But when you own your own business, you can't. You can't quit. There is no quit. There is no boss. There is no someone else that can come in and relieve you from your duties.
You are that person.
You are that person.
Yes.
So it is a lot of pressure that you wear. And that is something that like I think I used to find that a very like empowering thing, but as challenges and things in like our life get harder, I found that thing to feel like a mix of both empowerment and also like, holy shit, this is a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is a lot. It's a lot. And people don't talk about it enough.
No.
Especially, like, there's definitely people out there that are in the same boats as us, I'm sure, with, like, everybody's an entrepreneur. And, yeah, like, when your spouse is an entrepreneur, too, like, you can't shut your own business off, but you also can't, like, theirs is always in the back of your mind, mm-hmm. too. Like, what can I do to help them? Or, like, what do they have to do? Or what are their future goals? Like, mm-hmm. you have to talk to your spouse about those things, too, and how you can help grow their business. So mm-hmm. it's just constantly on.
It is. It's insane. So that's something, too, where I think just within this last year, for me, it has been, like, the biggest, like, whoa, this is such a big shift in our life. So that's something where that end of last year, when I started kind of like dealing with so much more anxiety than I've ever had in my whole life, I started going to therapy for all of it. And I will say that has been one of the best things that I've probably ever done for myself.
and just being able to talk to someone else about the pressures of life, but make sure that they understand it too. So like that was one of the things where I told Cord, I was like, if whoever I find needs to be a mom.
That was like the number one
Yes,
thing.
they need to be a mom, and they need to also be in like a private practice, because that means that they also own their own business, and they will understand two of the hardest things that life is right now. Like, and it's not, there is so much gratitude and joy for what we do and what we have. And that's where like you fight with yourself of like, why aren't I like, you know, so thankful? Like, why am I dealing with this?
Why am I not happier every day that I have?
Right?
I built this business that I love.
Because so many people, like back in, you know, corporate days might be like, oh, you're living the dream. Like literally so many people have said that directly to us of like, you're living the dream. Your husband owns a brewery. You own your own business. Like
you got out of the 9-to-5 corporate.
Yeah. And it's true. There is so much like gratitude. And this is the dream. Like, this is the dream that we wanted to have. But just because it's a dream doesn't mean it's not freaking hard.
Yeah. And it's not
so
like, and we have worked for it. Like, the amount of work that goes into it is the hardest part. And to keep it going is hard. It's hard every single day. That doesn't, like, dreams aren't always as sexy as they look and sound, right? Like, yes, we're doing things that we absolutely love and we have this immense passion for it, but it is hard. It is really hard.
So we're not going to make this whole episode a doom and gloom about how hard life is, because it is. Like, all of this is hard. And we also want to be open about the fact that, like, it isn't always sunshines and rainbows. Like, stuff behind the scenes that you don't get to see every day can be challenging. We have good days, we have bad days. Like, there are definitely days where it's like, I can't function today. Like, I am just like so overstimulated, so overwhelmed, like too much going on, too many responsibilities in life and business and all the things that you just need to walk away and take a break.
Yeah.
And there's other days where it's like, this is freaking awesome.
I know.
Like,
feel on top of the world. I'm going to do all of it. Yes.
You feel all of those emotions. And we love to talk about like the empowerment and the motivation and all of that. But with that comes like the lows too. And you need to have community, and you need to have resources, and you need to have people that you can talk to about that. And if you don't have a community, if you don't have family, then like, look at therapy. Like, look at some outlet you can have, because the more you hold some of that stuff in, you're going to internalize it. And like, I have just noticed from like a self-talk standpoint is I am so hard on myself because I internalize it and I don't talk to anyone else. So I just like, I am so hard on myself, and I don't think I realized how hard I am on myself until I talked to someone else about it. And then they're like, do you realize that you're even doing that? And I don't, because I just like, I'm a buckle down, get it done kind of person.
And now that she's been in therapy, anytime I say anything like bad about myself, she's like, you tell yourself 10 things that you love about yourself right now. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird, but okay.
Do I do it all the time?
So she needs to practice what she preaches. But she's
it's easy to see other people do it to themselves. Like, I will say that it's so easy to have someone else talk to you and you can pinpoint exactly the things they're saying where you're like, no, change that attitude right now. Like, don't say it like that. Like, that's not okay. Like, you need to have more grace for yourself. And it's so easy to see that from someone else, but not see it in yourself.
Right, because you're always hard on yourself, because you always know you could be doing a little bit better.
Yeah. So I think that's honestly like the biggest lesson along the way of like these few short years of motherhood is just like giving ourselves the grace and really just taking the time that you need regardless of what role it's in. So if you need to, like, if you are feeling like you need to spend more time in that motherhood role, then find a way to do that. Like, prioritize it and vice versa. And truly not trying to put your foot in both places at the same time for too long. Like, I understand that has to happen at times, but it's when, for me, it's when I do that for too long that I start to feel just horrible. Like, if you have to do it for an afternoon or you have to do it for a day, fine. But then the next day, have better boundaries around when you're playing each role.
And it's hard to dig yourself out of that. If you get to that horrible space, it's really hard to dig yourself out and start implementing those things that is going to make you feel better and like the balance that you need. Yeah. I would also say too, just like prioritizing what truly matters in that moment is key. And Abby and I have done I feel like we've done a really good job of this. You know, if one of us is sick, the other one is like, take the day off. And now the other one who is sick needs to listen a little bit more. But it's things like that. Like our industry, we are not saving lives. We are not making drastic worldly moves here. And so if one of us is sick, we need to take care of ourselves so that we don't get sicker and it prolongs and we can get better to be wives, mothers, business owners again. The other day, Abby's son wasn't feeling that good and we were going to have a podcast recording day. And it just all went out the window because he wasn't feeling great. And she was feeling stressed about it. She was like, gosh, we just haven't had a productive podcast day. I'm going to have to record something over the weekend.
Because she's caveat. I'm pretty sure the kid just had some gas. And so I was like, what is happening? Like, he's doubled over from stomach pain right now.
I wasn't going to say that. Poor buddy.
Well, I was. Because in the moment, I'm like, what is this? Is this like, you know, your brain goes from like the drastic of like, is it your appendix? Like, do we need to go to the hospital? To like 20 minutes later, I'm fine, I'm ready to go to school. I'm like, what? You realize you just flipped my whole day upside down. Like, you flipped my whole day upside down, kid.
But these are the things
I love you
that we have to like, that again is a good point of like your day, your immediate day could like change in a heartbeat because children. Quickly. But also Abby was like stressed because she's like, well, I'll just record a podcast over the weekend because she has all the podcast stuff at her place. And I messaged her back and I was like, or not. Like, this is our business. If we replay a podcast on Monday or don't even like release one, it's fine. Like, our audience is really like understanding of our lives. They understand what's happening and know that we're busy. If we just say, hey, no pod on Monday because life, they're going to be like, good for you girls, like deal with the life and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
So, and then she was just like, oh wow, what a concept. I was like, yes. See?
It's crazy.
So it's things like that too. Like, you need to prioritize the things in your life at that moment that matter. And our children and our husbands matter, and our own health and each other matter more than our business.
Yeah. And I think it's also like sometimes we're so stuck in our head that we think that this one social post is going to make a difference and we have to get it done. Or I have to get this email out. If I don't, I'm going to lose money. Like, no, probably not. Honestly, like that one thing that you're trying to bust your butt for probably isn't going to make a massive difference. And if it goes out a few hours later, one day later, a week later, it's going to be just fine. Like,
I feel like we've gotten a little bit better with that in our lives.
We have, for sure. I would say something too that has helped me a lot in this season of life right now, and like trying to be very intentional with my time, is actually setting boundaries on my calendar. So I have, and I told Courtney, I like did this the first week back in the new year.
Did you ask ChatGPT for some help? Or did you just tell me to do that?
Well, so one of the things that I found for myself is like my kids go to school at 8 to 3. They used to go to school like 8 to 11, or like it was like a stupid little amount of time. And I would only work during that time. Like, that's it. So when things transitioned to 8 to 3, I was just like, wow, I'm going to have so much more time for myself. Well, turns out, like, and I've noticed this too, when I have less time, I'm more productive because I know I have less time. But when you have more time, you tend to kind of, like, be less productive, or you just, like, fart around, or you drag it out, or, like, you just, like... It's not as productive or efficient as you could have been before.
Or you think because you have the whole day, you're like, I have a whole day, I'll get it done. And then you don't.
So I was not taking any time for myself throughout the day. So, and half the time it's because I was letting my calendar dictate my schedule versus the other way around. And so I really like flipped that mindset, and I put the days I'm doing drop off and the days I'm doing pickup on my schedule. So one, my team knows that the days that I am doing drop off, they're not scheduling calls. So like my SEO partner, she is scheduling calls with clients for me a lot of times, and she knows that she can't book a call on days that I pick up after pickup time because I'm with my kids. So
it's really helpful for my team to know when I'm available. But then also I blocked off time for me to work out or for me to like go down and do a Peloton thing. And then I asked ChatGPT, like, based on this phase of like my menstrual cycle, because I feel like I'm really like particular of that right now with like tracking and all of the fun stuff and when you're creative and when you're not and all of that. We need to bring a guest on the pod about that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's our next point that I was going to talk about.
I know. Yeah. For real. Oh yeah. Oh, you have it. Note it down. I'm already like tracking into it. But anyways, I asked ChatGPT to write me out like a little workout thing with Peloton. Like what Peloton ones can I do based on this phase of my cycle? So that was like really helpful just to honestly block off my calendar. And when I've blocked off my calendar, not only can my team see my boundaries, but I hold myself accountable to my boundaries too. And then I just look at it every week.
And this is something that I have not adopted yet. I need to. And Abby's like, throw it into ChatGPT based on your life and like what you want to do and what you're looking for and then add it to your calendar. So I still need to do that. I'm going to do that this week. I promise.
Okay, good.
But yeah, so Abby started to talk about like your cycle. So us as women, I mean, if any of you dudes are listening, I apologize for this section, but know it for your wife, or your significant other. But learning about our cycles and our productivity throughout our cycles is something that Abby and we know a little bit on. We've dabbled a little bit here and there, but we really want to dive into this more this year and know what phase we're at, when our productivity levels are higher, when they're lower, because the tasks that we have at hand throughout our cycle, if we can schedule them to be similar to our cycle, we can probably be way more efficient in our business because there's phases throughout our cycle where we just need those little easy mundane tasks because we have no creativity, we have no inspiration, we have no drive. But then there's other parts of our cycle where we are ready, we are energized AF, we want to go, we want to do the big things, we want to ideate those things, we want to go after those scary goals. So we really want to focus on that this year and we want to bring somebody onto the pod. So if I feel like, do we have a few people we know, or like if you know somebody that would be a really good guest, please let us know. Who was it that we talked to in Arizona? She was a key speaker at Taryn's retreat. I cannot think of her name, but she talked about it a lot too. We'll remember it and put it in the show notes. But she also has a book. So that is just something that we want to focus on too, because if we can better plan out our work weeks based on where we are in our cycle and lean into that, I think we can just be more efficient. Things might come easier because the tasks at hand are different. So again, this is going to be a whole nother episode later. And obviously throughout the year, if we learn more things, we'll let you know. But that's such a huge part, I think, for women because our productivity from week to week can change drastically from that of our male counterparts because they aren't going through a 30-day cycle.
Yeah. And we talked a few episodes back, episode 154, about Q1 meetings and time blocks you need. And if you have a way to track for this, you can plan for your creativity content meetings to be during that time of your cycle where you are most creative and you have that drive. Whereas maybe your financial meeting is, during your luteal phase or something when you're like not needing to be creative and you just need to look at data and numbers. So it's definitely something where I've been getting way more into it within the past couple years just because I started tracking things through my Oura ring and then using the natural cycles and all of that. And I think it's fascinating.
It's very fascinating. It really is. Okay, what next? Not being afraid to ask for help. I think that's something that us as women hate doing. We hate asking for help. Yes. Because I think...
Especially if you have limited childcare.
And I think it just makes us feel like we can't handle it, like we can't do it. We need somebody to help us. It's kind of that stigma that's out there, but you need to realize when you need help and who you can lean on for that. The other day I was struggling and Abby's like, you need to let Justin know how he can help you. Because us as women, like even our husbands, I don't think we communicate to our husbands like, hey, I really need help here. Like I need a day or I need a moment.
Just assume that they can read it out of our brain.
And then they don't read it and then you get real pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was talking with someone else who they're like, yeah, we talk in the morning about like what are your expectations for the day? And I'm like, that's actually so like when you have a weekend day with nothing happening.
A weekend day?
Yeah, so
true,
like
true.
say you wake up in the morning and you just talk to your partner and you're like, hey, what are your expectations for the day? Because they could say something totally different than what you were thinking. And all of a sudden, just because you didn't talk about it, you didn't know.
Yeah.
So
there are some weekends where I'm like, let's check everything off the to-do list. And he's like, let's watch TV.
Yeah.
And we don't communicate that, like really. And then by like Sunday evening, I'm like, we didn't do anything this weekend. This was dumb. Like we accomplished nothing. And then he'll be like, yeah, it was great. I'll be like, no.
Yeah, right? I know. It's like one of those things where you need to be on the same page. And I think I've noticed, so that's been a big thing too for us navigating now that we both, like me and my husband, both have the flexibility with our jobs, but we also both know how busy each other are. So today is a day, we're recording today, and today is a day where my kids don't have school. And so I had to talk with him last week about that and say like, hey, like, is it okay if I take this day so that I can record podcasts? Can you, which the kids love going to the brewery. They have a little clubhouse back there and
it's adorable.
Play and hang out, and they love going to work with Dad. So it's definitely, and they're closed on Mondays, so it's like not a big deal because they can
I
just
didn't even
run
know
around.
That. Okay, yep.
They can run around and do whatever they want, so it's nice. But those are things where communication, like not only with each other but with our spouses, to like talk about expectations with the kids has been. That is something that I even told Courtney because I know Courtney is in a different phase of life where I remember it.
Drop off, pick up, who's going to handle it, you know, who's doing it this day, who's doing it that day. Like if you actually don't talk about it prior and you're talking about it the morning of, that can really just derail your day.
Yeah.
Or you're just like, oh, you just think that I can do drop off? Like what if I have a morning meeting? And it's just so that over communication with your children and what you're going to do with them is key.
Yeah.
Key
like
to like saving your marriage.
And I assume, oh yeah, absolutely. And we've gotten much better at this because I've already been through the seasons of like, oh my gosh, we're like
Abby's training me.
This is insane. But there are still, it's funny because for us, my husband has been doing drop off every day and I do pickup because I always thought that 3 p.m. pickup for him, owning a brewery, right? That's like pretty busy in the evenings and nights, would be too hard for him. But it also sucks for me when like after school tiredness and then I get all of that plus dinner time and like, you know, that's like my least favorite time of day because the kids are just wild and overstimulated and tired. And so I was like, this is a lot, like ending work at 2:30 every day and also having to like just deal with the chaos. That. It's like some days it's too much. Like I want it some days, but not every day. And then he was telling me that he hates drop off. He hates it. And I was like, so you'd rather come home at 3? He goes, yeah, it forces me to get out of there some days. And like I just assumed in my brain that he would never want to do pickup. And so then he should always do drop off. Right. But like we just didn't talk about it, which is so funny because I think we make these assumptions in our head about our kids and what should happen and without talking about
what the other spouse might like better. Yeah.
So yeah, if you are in a new phase of this, the communication and the schedules have been so key to figuring out, just like giving you that freedom to know when you have to, again, like the boundaries, and to know when you have to be completely on and when you can be off. Because just like that brain switch, I think is so important.
Oh, very important.
It makes such a difference. And then remember to celebrate. Like these are things where we also want to make sure that not only are we celebrating these like milestones in our business, but we're also celebrating these like milestones in our life too, and taking those moments to really celebrate them. Moments. Sorry.
I just all my copywriter friends are gonna be like, oh my god.
I love it. Court did that, not me. And yeah, just remember those like little moments of progress. So when you are writing out your goals, especially if it's just you and your business, write out some goals that might not feel like business progress goals, but they're progress goals for you. So maybe it is which Court and I have said this, like we want our goals to align with how we want our life to be, like how we want to feel. So we had talked about how, hey, let's have a goal celebration when we hit a whole month of not opening our computer after 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Or something.
Oh, that's going to be a tough one.
It is, right?
But it's going to feel so good.
Yes.
And then I do have a feeling that we're going to be able to train ourselves. We sound like animals here, but like train ourselves to not do that. I think if we do a full month of it, like that's our goal, whatever month we choose. After that month, I think we're going to figure it out that we didn't really need to be doing that prior.
Yep. So maybe you want a goal that you want 1 day a week with your kids and you don't want to work. And so maybe your goal is like, hey, I'm going to take a moment and celebrate once I've hit 10 days, 10 non-working days during the week or something like that. Like make it fun and celebratory and like remember that progress isn't always the goal. Like at the end of the day, the goal is how you want to feel and why you built this business in the first place. And for me, I built I wanted to go into this business in the first place because I wanted that flexibility to be with my kids and to work. And the second when I forget that, that's when I'm like stressed.
Yeah. It's just those reminders too, like reminding yourself. Like one of these things that we have that we wanted to touch on is that you're the boss. Like remember that you are your own boss. If you're running your own business or if you're in a partnership, you are the bosses of this business and you get to set the rules. So if you're feeling bad or if you're feeling burnt out or run down or like something's just not working, reevaluate that. Talk to your business partner, talk to your spouse, and remember that you can change these things on the fly because you are the boss. You don't have to go through somebody to get something approved. You can change them to fit the needs of your life to make sure that you're healthy, your kids are healthy, your mind is healthy, your business is healthy. At the end of the day, you can change things based on what it is that you need within your life at that moment.
Yeah. Another ChatGPT prompt for you. Look, I am just going to weave these into every podcast episode we ever have. I'm going to be like, ask this to ChatGPT.
I think we should be like influencers for ChatGPT. Is that a thing?
No, but they should have an affiliate program.
Affiliates.
Sure.
Yes, we should. I
don't think they don't. They're everywhere now. But anyways, you should ask ChatGPT, what's like the perfect day in the life of someone who runs their own digital service business, has daycare or childcare from this time to this time, or doesn't have childcare and has 2 kids? How should I structure my day for my sanity? And like, here are my goals and blah, blah, blah. Just give word vomit all of the information that you could possibly have about your day and your life and your goals and how you want to feel, and ask it to structure a day for you and see what it's like. And then just take a step.
You need to write all this stuff down so I actually go do it for my life. Because you're always like, ask chat. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to it later. And then I never do. And I'm like, oh, Abby had so many good ideas.
Do it. I know. Maybe we'll do a recap at the end of the year. All the things Abby said to ask chat for.
Oh my gosh, let's do it. We would it'd be like a Spitfire of 500 things. We'd be like, boom, 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 boom.
It would be. That would be fun. I'm going to keep just integrating this into everything.
That would be fun. And the last thing here that we kind of wanted to touch on is that this shit is hard.
Did we not touch on it?
I mean, this is maybe just like that I'm like that exclamation girly that's like way too many exclamations in a email.
I do have to go through my emails and remove exclamation points because I do have too many.
This is like that exclamation point at the end. Like this shit is hard and we need to talk about it more. I don't think women talk about it enough. I don't think we're vulnerable enough. I don't think we share the scary, sad, gross, messy parts enough. And I hope that this year we do a better job of that for you in our business because we know that you crave it.
Healing, but also I do think that we are your biggest cheerleaders, but at the same time we also want to be like that friend in the shoulder you can cry on. That is so important to us, and we aren't going to sugarcoat like that this is like the most beautiful thing ever and we're making so much money without even trying. Like, I'm making money while I pee and
wish.
It's like, no, it's hard. This is all hard. It's really hard to find the balance. It's really hard to run a business, and it's also beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Like, there's so much beauty in it, but the amount of stress and anxiety and pressure is so much higher than any other job. Probably, I mean, other than like the president of the United States, like I don't think there's that much other jobs with, well,
it goes president,
okay, fine.
and then
surgeons.
Presidents, surgeons, entrepreneurs.
Firefighters. Okay, police. Okay, there's more.
Okay,
there's
we
more.
are going to get a lot from that.
Okay, in the non
if you're not saving
industries,
yes, if you're not saving people,
this is pretty freaking pressure filled. Like, because at the end of especially if you are an entrepreneur and you are the breadwinner of your family, holy smokes, like you're crushing it. One, like, wow,
good job.
Amazing.
Pat yourself on the back.
So incredible. And also, it's freaking hard.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And we're here, hopefully, to help make that easier and to know that you always have a friend in us. Like, we are here for the good and the bad, and we will cry and we will laugh with you and we will do all the things. But at the end of the day, we just want you to know that you're not alone. Like, you're not alone in this journey.
Glenn should add the song "You've Got a Friend in Me" to the end of this episode.
I wonder how he's gonna. So my husband edits all the podcast episodes, and I've like talked about him the whole time. I love you. You're the best. Yeah. So, anyways, there is literally nothing secret on this podcast that my husband will not know about.
I mean, I don't think my husband listens to it, but if he did, I wouldn't really be that worried.
No, but yeah. Love you, Glenn. Sorry you had to listen to this whole episode about everything you already know.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, just know, one, you're not alone. Give yourself some permission to do things the way you want to do it. Ask Chad.
Or ask Chad if you don't know.
Yeah, I know. And see how you can build a schedule that fits you. Like, there is no right answer. Do you want childcare? Do you not want childcare? Do you want to run a business that is going to make millions of dollars? Great. Do you want to run a business that's going to make just a tiny bit of money so that you can go to the grocery store? Great. Like, you do whatever you want to do.
You.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just remember that, one, it's okay to like have this mix of gratitude and hardness all at the same time. They can coexist. You can be super happy and like feeling super stressed out all at the same time.
Yes.
Like, there's just such a mixture of emotions in this, and just really like, just taking that time to remember why you're doing this in the first place and giving yourself that grace.
Yeah, just always reminding yourself why you're doing it. And if it is still for positive reasons and you're still liking it, you just need a little help. Just know that you're doing great and you're not alone. And I hope every once in a while with these episodes that we can kind of be your like digital podcast therapist.
Yeah. Maybe I'll bring some lessons. Actually, I do want to add that to the list. Lessons I've learned in therapy so far.
Dang, you've got some good ones.
I know. So maybe I'll bring that on the pod.
We can do a self-care one too, because I do a lot of very random things that
little hippy-dippy sometimes.
Yeah, so we can do one on that too.
Yes, we can. So anyways, just know that, again, this journey is wild. We're along for the ride. If there's ever anything that you want to hear about our own journey or how we did something, again, like there is no right way, or what we did like could have been epic failures along the way. But if you're ever curious about stories or what we're doing or how we're doing it, like we are an open book. Yeah. Ask away. Shoot us an email. Send us a DM, a voice message, because we're here for you. We're cheering you on.
Keep going, mamas.
If you like this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes dropping every Monday. Plus, if you haven't already, please go ahead and leave us a review and don't hesitate to share any new episode ideas. We absolutely love hearing from you and creating this content for you. See you next week.